The champagne flowed freely. The string quartet played softly in the corner, and laughter echoed through the decorated ballroom. But for 17-year-old Maya Chen, standing alone by the dessert table in her carefully chosen lavender dress, the beautiful wedding reception felt like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. "Did you see what she's wearing?" The whisper cut through the music like a knife. "Someone should tell her that empire waists don't work miracles." More laughter. Always more laughter. Maya's hands trembled as she reached for a napkin, trying to appear occupied, trying to be invisible. She'd known coming to her cousin Jennifer's wedding was a risk. Family gatherings always were. But her mother had insisted, had promised it would be different this time, had spent hours helping Maya find the perfect dress that made her feel, for just a moment, almost beautiful. That moment had lasted exactly 12 minutes after they'd arrived. "I heard she ate an entire pizza by herself last week," another voice joined in, barely bothering to lower the volume. No wonder she looks like that. Maya recognized them, Jennifer's friends from college, elegant women in designer dresses with perfect makeup and perfectly sculpted bodies, women who had never known what it felt like to walk into a room and immediately calculate the sturdiness of every chair, women who had never experienced the particular shame of breaking a lawn chair at a summer barbecue, while everyone pretended not to notice. She wanted to disappear. She wanted to explain that she had a thyroid condition, that she'd tried every diet, that she swam 4 times a week and still her body refused to cooperate. But she knew it wouldn't matter. It never did. People saw what they wanted to see, believed what they wanted to believe. "Maya!" Her mother's voice called from across the room, waving her over to the family table. But the path there meant walking past the group of laughing women, past the other guests who would surely notice, surely judge. Her feet felt frozen to the ornate carpet. "Excuse me?" A deep voice spoke from behind her, startling Maya from her paralysis. "Could you help me? I'm hopeless at these fancy events, and my daughter spotted those chocolate truffles over there, but I can't tell which plate is which." Maya turned to find a man in his mid-30s standing there, holding the hand of a little girl who couldn't have been more than 5 years old. He wore a slightly rumpled suit, and his dark hair looked like he'd tried to comb it but given up halfway through. His eyes were kind, the first kind eyes she'd seen all evening. "The truffles are on the silver platter," Maya managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "The ones with the gold wrapper are hazelnut, and the dark ones are raspberry." "Daddy, I want raspberry," the little girl announced, tugging on his hand. "Thank you so much," the man said, but he didn't move toward the dessert table. Instead, he looked at Maya with an expression she couldn't quite read. Then he glanced over at the group of women, who had gone quiet but were still watching, still smirking. What happened next, Maya would remember for the rest of her life. The man smiled, not at the women, but at Maya, and said in a voice loud enough for everyone nearby to hear, "You know, my late wife always said you could tell everything about a person by how they treat others when there's nothing to gain from it. She was the kindest person I ever knew." He paused, and his eyes grew distant, for a moment before focusing back on Maya. "She looked a lot like you, actually. Same gentle eyes, same beautiful smile." Maya felt her throat tighten. No one had called her beautiful in years. Not since the weight had come, transforming her from a normal kid into the target of every cruel joke and pitying glance. "I'm David, by the way. David Morrison. This is my daughter, Sophie. We're friends of the groom's family." He extended his hand and Maya shook it, feeling the calluses that suggested he worked with his hands for a living. "Maya," she whispered. "It's lovely to meet you." "Maya." He said her name like it mattered, like she mattered. "Sophie and I were just about to raid that dessert table. Would you join us? I have a feeling we're going to need an expert guide to navigate all those fancy pastries." Before Maya could respond, Sophie grabbed her other hand. "Please come. Daddy always picks the wrong ones, and they have coconut, and I hate coconut." Something in Maya's chest loosened. She looked at this man, this stranger who was offering her a lifeline without making it obvious, who was treating her like a person instead of a problem. Behind him, she could see the college friends had stopped laughing. They were watching now with uncertainty, perhaps shame. "Okay," Maya heard herself say. They spent the next 20 minutes at the dessert table, Sophie chattering about her kindergarten class while David asked Maya questions about herself, real questions. About her plans for college, her love of photography, her volunteer work at the animal shelter. He listened to her answers like they actually interested him, nodding thoughtfully, asking follow-up questions. Other guests began to approach, drawn by Sophie's infectious laughter and David's warm presence. Maya's cousin Jennifer came over, apologizing profusely for not greeting Maya earlier, insisting she sit at the family table. Jennifer's new husband, Thomas, shook Maya's hand and thanked her for the beautiful photo album she'd created as a wedding gift. Hours of work, selecting and arranging pictures that told the story of the couple's relationship. "You made that?" David asked, his eyes widening when Jennifer showed him the album on her phone. "That's incredible." "You have a real gift, Maya." The evening transformed. Suddenly, Maya wasn't the girl people laughed at. She was the talented photographer, the animal lover, the young woman with plans to study veterinary medicine at UC Davis. David's simple act of kindness had shifted something fundamental, had reminded everyone in that room that she was a person deserving of respect. As the reception wound down, David found Maya one more time. Sophie was asleep in his arms, her head on his shoulder. "Thank you for spending time with us tonight," he said quietly. "Sophie hasn't laughed like that since—" He trailed off, but Maya understood. "Since her mother died." "Thank you," Maya replied, and this time she meant it with her whole heart. "You didn't have to do that. What you said earlier about your wife—" "Every word was true," David interrupted gently. "My Jessica taught me that real beauty has nothing to do with what someone looks like on the outside. It's about kindness, courage, compassion. You have all of that, Maya. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise." He reached into his pocket with his free hand and pulled out a business card. "My construction company does a lot of pro bono work building shelters for rescue animals. If you're interested in volunteering, or if you ever want to talk about veterinary medicine, my sister's a vet, give me a call." Maya took the card, tears streaming down her face now, not caring who saw. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you help me?" David's expression grew thoughtful. "When Jessica was sick, she lost a lot of weight really fast. I watched people treat her differently, some with pity, some with awkward discomfort. It taught me that society has a cruel obsession with judging bodies. She made me promise that I'd raise Sophie to see people, not just appearances. Tonight seemed like a good chance to keep that promise." He shifted Sophie in his arms. "But honestly, you helped me more than I helped you. This is the first wedding we've attended since Jessica passed. I almost didn't come. Being here, talking with you, remembering what she taught me about kindness, it helped. So thank you, Maya Chen. Thank you for reminding me why we show up, even when it's hard." As Maya watched David carry his sleeping daughter out into the night, she felt something shift inside her, not her body, but her spirit. One person had seen her. One person had stepped forward when others had stepped back. And somehow that made all the difference. She didn't know it then, but David's card would lead to a volunteer position at his sister's veterinary clinic. That position would lead to a mentorship, then a scholarship, and eventually to Maya, becoming a veterinarian who specialized in helping rescue animals. Years later, she would name her clinic Jessica's Place, in honor of the woman she'd never met but whose kindness had rippled forward through her husband's simple act of human decency. Because that's what kindness does. It ripples, it multiplies, it transforms. And sometimes, it starts with just one person willing to step forward when everyone else steps back.